embrace. I know if you pick up a dictionary, you're going to read the contrary. You're going to read the opposite. Okay, idealism is an antonym to idealism. Okay, it's the opposite thing. And I'm here to tell you that's what I mean when I say reality is 180 degrees apart from what we've been taught, what we've been trained and told. Okay, that's the way it works. The people running our lives are the political class, the moneyed class, the money printing class. They create the policies that we live under, but they're exempt from. They're the ones that get us divided in every possible way they can. And they do that very well. And if I had my notebook here, I'd pull it out and I'd start reading some of those ways because I've got a whole bunch of them written down. But at the end of the day, they've come up with a grand division. What I see here in California is going to spread across the country. And what it is, you know, we've all heard about the wealth disparity and you got the poor and the middle class and all the, you know, points in between. But really what's happened here is it's been a long-standing fact that the greatest measure of prosperity, the greatest metric, the best gauge for prosperity is for you to be able to own your own home. Paid off, scot-free. All you pay is a little measly property tax on it. And even that, I mean, I'm opposed to that. People should be able to have their own domiciles without paying property tax. Taxes should never be coerced. Of course, if we were away from this money-based reality, that's another thing that would be a non-issue. So I'm a big proponent of home ownership, but we're losing that in California. After 9/11, after Clinton got rid of the Glass-Steagall Act and Bush pumped up, you know, don't stop investing, keep business as usual. That's what they're after. They hate us because of our freedoms to engage in commerce and capitalism and all this. And so that's the one thing. Do you want to get back at them, then just go engage in business. So all the investors, that was a signal to them to just get busy, man. So, you know, the property management, landlords, investors, and, you know, all the individuals got in there and they start buying up properties. I mean, I've seen, single-handedly, I've seen one aggressive investor buy up all the property in Santa Cruz. And, you know, next day, hey, sorry, but, you know, your rent's doubled and sorry, housing costs, and it's going in one guy's pocket. You understand how this works? This is called price fixing, market manipulation. It's not capitalism. It's not Milton Friedman capitalism. It's not Adam Smith capitalism. It's not Keynesian capitalism. It's not Austrian economics. It's none of those things. Okay, it is just a sordid form of fascism. Whenever you got the government interests in there working together with these private interests to do these kind of things, that's when you've got the problems. And we've got big problems, okay, with these people doing this sort of thing. And it is fascist. So now this tax base is high, it becomes a revenue stream. It's like an addict, and they're hooked on the money. So the governments need this money. This is what they've done in California. So now in California, instead of being like the rest of the country, where there's still over 60% home ownership across the country, we have less than half the people in California are homeowners. So, you know, it's a very easy mathematical equation. That means over half the people cannot afford to own homes. They might drive a Mercedes, a Rolls Royce, a Bentley, a Ferrari, a Jaguar, you know, whatever, Maserati. It doesn't matter, okay? If they can't afford to be a homeowner, they're poor. They're in that same grouping with the poor. That's it. They might not feel poor because they got all this money to spend, but these are sometimes the worst people because, you see, the system has also become like an auction. So by these people being well-heeled and, oh, I can afford the rent, I'm making $100,000 a year, but he can't afford to buy a house where he lives in San Francisco. But, you know, these people drive up the cost of rent because, again, like an auction. You know, I mean, if you and a few other people, you're there with a few bucks, and then these clowns come in, they got all the money, they're going to get whatever they want. You're not going to get what you want out of that auction. That's what happens here. This is the danger of price fixing. This is what so many people don't understand. There's a schism between people understanding, look, they don't want to depopulate the earth because they need the consumers. Duh. I mean, everybody knows, you know, these are consumers. They go out and that's good for business, right? Ask the Chamber of Commerce. And also, these are the slaves, just like you keep saying, they need their slaves. Okay, folks, well, not with price fixing. This is the inherent hazards of allowing price fixing. And if you look up the definition of price fixing, one of the most intrinsic definitions in there is this idea of market manipulation. This is collusion. That's what it is. So it becomes like it's worse than just one big monopoly you can blame. Oh, this GE, they're just really bad. It's a monopoly. No, these are collections of special interest groups colluding with each other, even if they're individual landlords whose ears perk up when they hear the mainstream media, who they've been doing in this area, telling everybody, hey, rents are going up. So the oh, I'm supposed to raise my rent now. Huh? Okay, well, that's what I'll do then. You see, it's not based on reality. It's not based on supply and demand, okay? Because if it was, it'd be like the VCRs. And your housing dollars would be worth a fortune right now. And instead of you investing in your house like it's your piggy bank, you put it in your piggy bank, for crying out loud. And your house is cheap, your property taxes are cheap. People are such idiots because they're money lovers. And they've been psyched out by a gaggle of murderous, scheming, just rapacious thugs. That's who's creating the policy we're living under. That's what's wrong with the establishment. That's what's wrong with the system. It is fascist. It's fascist because it's government interests working with private interest and colluding against the populations. They set up social welfare programs, but they created the problems. So they create this big problem, this big gulf, this huge mess, and then they throw a few crumbs at it. And then they blame those. They create, it's cause and effect. They create the problem. They are the cause. The people that create the financial policy. The politicians are right in there allowing these people to do what they do. So that's the same as them doing it. If they're the guys legitimizing, validating it, rubber stamping every whim of these money printers, then what do you think? Of course they're colluding. Of course they're complicit. Of course they're guilty. Yes, I'm talking to these people, the government workers, the politicians, supposed to representing we the people. And they've just done nothing but contribute to the fall of the American empire through pseudo-capitalism, through framing capitalism, under the pretext of capitalism. It's a fraud. It's a farce. It's a scam. It's a scheme. And it's run its course. And people are waking up and they're getting mad and they're saying, no, you're not going to debase my currency anymore. I don't have any more money to give you, landlord. I don't have any money to give you, tax man. I don't have any more money to give you, food manufacturers. That's it. I'm done. You've soaked me. You've squeezed all the blood out of the turnip. That is me. That is I and my family and my children and my friends and neighbors and my brothers and sisters. We're done with you people. We know how you operate. We know you're on the highway to hell and you want to take as many wretched souls with you as you can. But if I have anything to say with it, if Chris Credit here has anything to say with it, I say this: wake up. Turn away from the system. You stab them in the back. You betray the system. You're a white hat working in the political forum, then you say no. Or you don't even have to tell your boss what you're doing. You just don't do it. You drag your feet and don't do what they tell you to do. You defy them. They're not your master. You've got one master, one owner, and that's God. And these people compete for that reverence, okay? And they want the perverted, where they want your fear. They want, you need me. I'm the money printer. I'm in with the money printers. You need this paycheck. You need this money. Without it, you'll die. You'll be homeless. You'll be hungry. You'll be without clothes. You'll die and your children will die. You just revere me. I'm the money master and I'm working with the money. No, you say no. You go to hell. That's what you tell them. You say I got one master and he decides whether I live and die. You could take my body, but you can't take my soul. Okay? That's what I tell them. And that's what I advise everybody else out there to tell them. Anyhow, I got to wrap up this video. I see that my tape is running out, but you can see I am passionate about this issue because, yeah, I don't like to be raped, financially raped. I don't like my children to get raped, and I'm angry about it. And we got to come together, even though we've been totally divided. Landlords, you're going to have to do something, man. You got to figure your way out of this mess because, listen, unless you're willing to be on the other side of this equation and trade places with your tenants, you're going to hell. I could guarantee it. Every landlord out there that is not willing to trade places with their tenant is on their way to hell. And so that's why it's so important to understand the critical, imperative nature of the things that I try to teach people. I try to convey and impart because I believe they're of the Lord. And I'm trying to warn people you don't want to go to hell. If you can afford to reduce your tenant's rent, do it. We got to find a way out of this thing. Help your tenants save money and to get out of this rental, this merry-go-round that they can never get off of. And if they become too poor and disabled, then they depend on the social welfare system to pay their bills. Okay? What is that? What is that? And then they reach into your pockets saying, you know, we're socialists and so we got to dig in the pockets of the middle class? No. I mean, if we could go straight into Rockefeller's pocket, I'm all for it. But I say, you know, make taxes, all of them voluntary. That's it. You get to earmark. If you're going to give money to the government, you get to choose where it goes to, just like when you pay a tithe. That's where the whole idea of taxes came from in the first place. It's an ancient religious principle of giving to charity, to love. This is what it is. This is should be a joy to give. And when JFK did a huge tax cut, what happened the next year? What nobody expected. Tax receipts went way up. It proves, it's evidence that proves that people don't want to be coerced. They will give lovingly and willingly of their own free will, their own free accord, because that's where that's the way we're created. Okay, so the system can work fine. We can have prosperity without money. We don't have this great division that they've created for us to live under. And I don't live under it. My attitude is all that my Father has is mine. And that's the attitude I ask you to embrace. Say, look, I was born